Deep breaths. Deep breaths. What is up, everyone? My name is Ty Roeder, host of the Verde and Black Show here on YouTube for your in-depth analysis, review, recap, whatever you want to call it, of all things Austin FC. I'm kind of at a loss of words, if I'm going to be quite frank, about last night's U.S. Open Cup match against San Antonio FC. I knew we weren't going to be producing a first-team full lineup. I figured that Stuver would get the day off. I thought Driussi would get the day off. Ring got the day off. We sprinkled in some of our starters throughout the lineup. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. First half, had a ton of chances, didn't really result in anything. Possession throughout the game, we owned 66% of the possession with 28 shots, 8 on goal. We scored 1 goal throughout the entire game, including extra time. Now, what I will say is this is our first, attempt at U.S. Open Cup. I think it's a learning experience. By all means, it was frustrating. I was optimistic at the beginning. It did feel like our lineup was set to at least give it a go to try to win this thing down in San Antonio. It didn't feel like a second team lineup to which I thought it was going to be. So that was nice. Unfortunately, the pieces just didn't fall together when it came down to crunch time and trying to pull out the victory. I will give credit where credit is due to San Antonio FC. They stayed in it a lot longer than I think myself and many individuals thought. I was thinking maybe going into halftime we'd be up 1-2-0, and then we could pull some of our starters and really just park the bus from there. Ultimately, that wasn't the case. We went into halftime at 0-0 and really kind of had to make some adjustments from there. I will say the ESPN Plus commentators were possibly top 3 worst commentators I've ever heard in my entire life. And I like to give, some benefit of the doubt when talking about maybe baseball, golf, football, hockey, even soccer to an extent. Soccer, I think, is a sport where there's never a stoppage. You always have something to talk about, so you don't need to fill the air with unwarranted comments. And I feel like all of last night, that's what they were doing. I know one of the commentators mentioned how we should have lost to DC United. They didn't really factor in that DC United had a player who got a red card. They also just, one what pisses me off, they weren't pronouncing some of Austin FC's players correctly. Like, you think that's just common sense, common knowledge that you would do some research on both teams before you announce the game. And it was super dry. I mean, incredibly dry. They tried to raise their voices when a shot would occur, but it just felt very, very nonchalant. Didn't feel like I was watching an Open Cup type of atmosphere. They talked about how the atmosphere was great and that these players were amped up and they should all calm down, but I was not a big fan of ESPN Plus. I mean, if someone at ESPN Plus ever sees this video, it was atrocious. I mean, I think the final 45 minutes of the game, I put it on mute just because I couldn't handle. I was listening to them talk about absolute nonsense rather than actually watching the game. But getting back to the game itself, we come out of halftime. Fagundes, what a stud. I mean, gets that goal. You think everything's great. We got a goal early on in the second half. We're on our way to victory. I think a second one's hopefully coming soon, maybe a third. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So, we're still waiting to figure out what the deal is with Dominguez. Hopefully he's back soon. I doubt for the Vancouver Whitecaps game, but we'll see. And so that left Ethan Finley up top. He looked kind of lost throughout the entire game. I mean, we brought on Rodney Redes. That's not saying much to help out from the bench. I'm surprised that Jared Stroud wasn't even on the bench, it looks like. But, after we scored that first goal, what I think caused the demise of Austin FC were some of the substitutions. I understand Gabrielson coming on. I just think I would have liked to have seen Gabrielson come on for Kip Keller rather than Cascante. Now, I understand there's a whole dilemma dynamic with we're playing a game here in the next couple of days against Vancouver. We would like to have our full squad. I would be very surprised if Fagundes is in the starting lineup. I mean, he played all 120 minutes as well as Kolmanic and Jimenez. I think out of those two, Kolmanic will probably start over Jimenez on Saturday. But I just don't like the fact that we brought Gallagher in for Kip Keller. We brought a left back who, to be honest, all of last season, Gallagher was playing left mid, right mid. We bring Gallagher in for Kip Keller, one of our center backs. And I didn't really understand what we were trying to do there. I understand maybe if we're, trying to park the bus, but Gallagher's not really someone who I think we want to park the bus with. I think that's a Cascante Gabrielson or Gabrielson and leave in Kip Keller and let him finish out the game, unless Kip Keller had a knock. But, I did not like that, having what seemed to be like one center back and three outside backs. Playing on our defensive line. I thought that kind of ruined the shape a little bit. And then I was ultimately frustrated with Wolf not bringing off Driussi. I was so nervous and worried that Driussi was going to tear his Achilles. I mean, granted, he probably flopped a couple of those times, but still, some of the San Antonio FC players were flying in there at Driussi trying to take him out. And from watching the game last night, I think we can all agree that Austin FC is the better team. We are way more talented and way more put together. So there really shouldn't have been a reason as to why we didn't win. And, I don't want to, I really don't want to hear any excuses from Wolf. I want him to take ownership and at least accept that this is primarily on him for not getting the substitutions right in such a crucial moment when we have the lead. It's one thing if we're down, but if you can't make the correct substitutions when we have the lead and we ultimately succumb and lose 2-1 in extra time, what are we doing? So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that. Once they scored their first goal, I got very, very concerned. Two things. First, I got concerned because there was about 8 minutes left in regular time, given the added time in there as well. I felt like if we were going to win this game, we needed to do it in regular time. I did not want to go to extra time because once we go to extra time, that gives them another 30 minutes to do whatever the hell they want, throw all bodies at us. I also was thinking in the perspective of if we have a game, an MLS game in 3 days, I do not want to play an extra 30 minutes. I do not. I do not want to derail the next couple of games on the MLS slate for this game. I would rather throw it all at them. And it felt like we did that towards the end of regulation. We definitely had some chances. I mean, there's no excuse for having 28 shots, 8 on goal. I mean, 66% of the possession. It's so frustrating. San Antonio FC had 24 fouls. 24. Once it went into extra time, I was nervous. I was kind of just hoping that we would score maybe 1 or 2 goals and then kind of shut them down. But once they scored in extra time, I was really afraid that we weren't going to score. I mean, if we can't score in 90 minutes against a team that's not even in MLS, they're in the USL. We score 1 goal, and they score within 96th minute. We have 24 minutes plus any added extra time to score a goal, and we can't do that? What do we expect to do in MLS? It's just, I think it's a big embarrassment for the club. It's a big embarrassment for our fans. Luckily, most of the people that I know are in Austin. I don't have a lot of San Antonio friends or colleagues, but it is embarrassing. They could hold this over our head for as long as they want, regardless of what we do in the future with them. They'll always have that first victory. And I think the fans, at least from watching it on the screen, The Austin FC fans took that approach, knowing how big of a game it was, and unfortunately, the club didn't. Um, what concerns me moving forward with this club is I don't want us as fans to give Wolf too much credit. Wolf needs to earn our credit. I'm not going to sit here and say Wolf is a mastermind. Wolf knows exactly what he's doing until he proves he knows what he's doing. Being second in the league after 7 games doesn't prove anything. We're still in April. This is another 6 months to go before we can actually have a holistic view of everything that we're looking to ascertain as an Austin FC supporter, fan, club even. So I like to give it to you guys straight. I don't like sugarcoating things. If I feel like a player is outperforming where I think they will, I'll say it. If I think a coach is outperforming where they will, I will say it. Right now, this performance did not give me any hope of confidence with Wolf. I'm not saying it's, the end all be all. How far we would have made in the Open Cup, who knows? It was our first season at it, but I just want to express the frustration I think a lot of us are feeling in that there needs to be some ownership and understanding that although we've had a great start to our season, it does not mean anything if we don't continue the trend and continue to get better and continue to learn and adapt. And I think adaptation is something that we saw in this game we were not good at. Putting Gallagher in for Kip Keller, there's no, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you put Rodney Rennes in, which I understand you kind of have to. He's not getting minutes in MLS, and you put Owen Wolff, your own son. There's just not a lot to speak about positively about that game. I mean, Fagundes' goal was great, but as an MLS club, we should easily have won 3-0, 3-1. I'll give it to San Antonio FC. They were pushing at home. So I'm really, really interested to see this Saturday against Vancouver what we do. I'm interested to look at the lineup. I'm interested to look at how we play, how our legs play, whether or not we come out strong, and ultimately the result. If we come back home at Q2 Stadium and we don't win, we should all look at that as a disappointment and a failure. Regardless, going into San Antonio FC, my thoughts were, let's win, let's keep everyone healthy. We kept everyone healthy, but we didn't win. So that's what, 1 out of 2, 50%. That's not a passing grade in my eyes. So I'm sure some of you can tell the frustration that I'm feeling right now. I think many of you are feeling the same frustration. So I appreciate all the support that you guys have shown me throughout. Please feel free to like and subscribe. I do this for fun. It's my way of kind of discussing my knowledge and background in soccer. So yeah, I look forward to seeing many of you out there at Q2 Stadium this weekend, and let's go get them.